I got a good feeling about this one. This one's going to be fun. This one's going to be super rad. Oh, this one's going to be good. Shit. Boom, boom. I have a feeling this one might go long too. I got a good vibe on this one. Excited. It's Friday. Something just happened on the top of my screen and I have no idea what it is. It's something gold. Cool. I think it's because we have a lot of likes or something. I've got like a gold thing. 5th, 6th in music. I'll load this thing up on my personal account. About to kick this thing off. Boom. Sound down on the phone, you know, keeping it hi-fi. All right. We're going to be talking about how to get publicity for your music today. Princess, I see you in there. Do you make music? Do you have any questions about music? You just popping in, just cruising around? This is a show all about how to live stream with musicians and as a musician. So we're going to be interviewing a pretty incredible duo today if you don't know about who we're going to be talking with. And we're going to be chilling with some really good people. Actually, they've been on once before. Tano is the producer, and he's amazing. And they're both coming from that New York. Yeah, man. So we'll kick this off in a second. Yeah, man. What's up, JJ? So we're going to be kicking this off shortly, gents and ladies. We're going to be talking about how to get publicity, which basically means how to get write-ups for your music. Blogs, could be industry trades. If you guys have specific questions, fire them my way. I haven't been doing this that long, as you'll see very quickly. So a lot of times you might have to repeat your questions a couple of times, and then I'll be like, oh, there's a question. I'm not quite that bad, but I can be a little bit slow on the uptake when I'm seeing questions. But if you guys have questions, I would love to weave them in. We've got an amazing couple that happens to be a creative duo, super duo. There's a new record that just came out a couple of days ago. It's already got some write-ups. So we're going to be talking to them and kind of unpacking what they've been doing with the music, how to get more exposure for it, and hopefully help you guys kind of figure out, good afternoon. You're so like courteous, Kevin, dude. Where is it afternoon there? Where are you? And I appreciate the courtesy. Hopefully we'll try and keep the bar high for courtesy. I can be a little bit of a clown once things get warmed up. So, you know, we got some music. What's up, Tori? Good to see you. Yeah, if you guys have specific questions, ref it up. Yeah, man, let's do this. Got your whistle ready? We should get you a whistle. That's what we should get you. That would be cool. Like the striped shirt. Do you have one of those? It's 1 o'clock. Whistle and the badge. Whistle and the badge. Oh, you just started on You Now. Righteous. Yeah. Right on. Appreciate you being here. I mean, we're 4 months ahead of you, so we haven't been on here that long. And if you go back, by the way, if you go to the top of our screen, you can check out most, not all, of our previous streams, and you can kind of see some of the stuff we've had Ebba McGann on before, we've had Sherry Hugh on before, we had Tano on once before. Thank you, Tori. And by the way, for those of you that don't actually have the music or haven't received it yet, because some of you are on the email list and some of you are just popping in, and everybody's welcome. Tori, if you could please, Tori's our amazing coordinator, behind the scenes magic maker. If you could please pop some links on for people to put the music on in the background, that would be amazing. That way you can kind of hear it in the background as we're talking about it. Thank you. Ref, appreciate you. Let me also give you guys a little bit of a taste of what's coming up over the next couple weeks. So this happens every Wednesday and Friday. It happens at 10 o'clock Pacific, or whatever time it is for you right now, on Wednesdays and Fridays. And we do that pretty much like clockwork so far. Next Wednesday, highly recommend it. Why? We have 2 guys that are sort of the backbone behind a software called SessionWire that basically allows, if you're using a professional DAW recording software like Logic or Pro Tools or Ableton or FL or any of those, it's the only platform that I'm aware of at the moment that allows one professional piece of software recording music to actually link up in real time, more or less in real time, with virtually no latency. So it allows people to basically produce on the fly in real time together. And it's probably the best, most solid software for that right now. There's another one called Audio Movers that's a teeny tiny version of it, and is a much smaller footprint on your computer, and it's super handy in its own way. But the guys from SessionWire are going to be coming on next Wednesday. I'm interviewing the guy who basically built it from scratch. Yes, we are Pacific time, sir. Yeah, we're Pacific time. So, and it's always going to be 10 a.m. Pacific time on our end for the shows, and it's Wednesdays and Fridays. So next Wednesday is going to be the guys from SessionWire. And then on Friday, we've got a guy named Mike White who does mixing classes, you know, for mixing a record, and is going to be coming on to sort of give some tutorials and some tips for either mixing something at your home, or also, like, if you have somebody mixing a record, it's a big kind of overlooked part of the process to make sure that it sounds right. So he'll be on Friday. We always try and have people on that know what they're talking about. And last Friday, we were, Wednesday, we were at East West Studios, which is one of the premier studios in the world. And here in LA, it's probably one of the, I'm certainly top 3, if not one of the best in LA and certainly in the world. Long list. And so you can check out that on YouTube on our tiny URL. What questions do you guys have? I mean, this is basically something we do for you guys. So anything that you might have, general questions, it could be, you know, I don't know how to use Logic, or does GarageBand allow me to produce records that could actually work to get on Spotify, or how do I get on a playlist, or why are people doing this kind of live stream and not that kind of live stream? This was born out of, I'm a journalist, music journalist. I wear a couple different hats. What's up, Colin? Good to see you, man. We were just talking about you. Were your ears ringing? Colin's going to be coming on next week on Wednesday and talking about Session Wire with us. So it's nice to have you here, man. So we basically just try and explore things that are useful about the live streaming world, about what people are trying to solve in the music space right now. So again, this was sort of born of me. I write for a number of music trade publications, so music industry publications that are read by you know, managers and label staff and people like that. So it's not like something you're going to see in like a magazine rack somewhere, but it's read by a lot of the professionals in the industry. And about 4 months ago, I decided to create a kind of a new publication under the umbrella of stuff that we publish. It's called the Virtual and Remote Music Guide. And it kind of started to talk about live streaming, about virtual production, about remote production, about things that people can do to make money and survive and do well. So I started to interview a couple of people, and I thought, you know, I think it's important for us to actually do a live stream about this. So this thing started. Tori is my amazing coordinator and helps with a lot of the details behind the scenes and stuff like that. Thank you for inviting your friends, Amin. And Tori, I mean, you know, props for just making this possible. She and I are sort of a duo, and this just would be impossible without you. So appreciate you. I know I say that a few times a week probably, but oh, awesome. Aya has popped in. So also just want to give a shout out to the folks from Session Wire. Good to see you in here, Colin, and looking forward to having you guys on again on Wednesday. And Mike White, if you're popping in today, we'll see you in about a week. So let's do this. And you guys, again, Tori, if you can pop that link one more time for Aya's music, just so people can kind of have it in the background, that would be amazing. And Aya, you ready to do this? Let's do it. What's up, guys?
What up?
Hi, what's up?
It looks so cool where you are. Are you guys at your pad, or are you at a studio somewhere, or both?
This is our studio. This is the same room as we've been in before, but
Okay.
different angle.
Ah, that's why. Well, it's nice to meet you, Aya.
Nice to meet you too, finally.
It's nice to see you again. Tano, how are you guys?
I'm good, we're good.
We're good.
How are you?
Awesome. I'm great. We're super happy to have you on and excited to talk with you. Yeah, for some reason, it's usually like a couple hours before we do this, and I have some idea like, oh, you know what? We should have you guys perform a song. And Tano's like, yeah, that would have been a good thing to think about, like maybe yesterday. So next time.
Next time we'd love to. Yeah, if we have time to prepare something, that would be
for sure. I remember my first impression actually of you guys. The whole thing was I must have seen the first link that I found was like a tiny URL performance that you did. It was basically a pitch to the NPR show to like, hey, you want to get on the show.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember where certain pieces of music and certain musical experiences, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but like you remember like exactly where you were, like literally geographically what was going on. Like, and I remember listening to that, and what struck me about it was you could hear the two of you playing together.
Mm-hmm.
Like listening to each other and performing it together, right? It was like you could hear that. it was so transparent that
Aw.
that's what was so cool about it.
Oh, that's so
Awesome.
good. That's
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember you saying something about that in our first stream that we did.
Yeah, I
Mm.
love that performance.
I mean, that's like when we're performing, not just us, but like in general, I feel like that's like what makes a good show. So I'm glad that you saw that in the,
For sure.
or to make that in a video come out. So thank you.
Right on.
Okay.
So here's what we want to do. We've got about an hour,
Mhm.
and this is almost like a sort of a masterclass format. So in other words, I think it's cool that everybody that's watching here can kind of listen in and pick up on some of the process. But basically, we're going to be going through a new EP that you guys have just released that has already gotten some write-ups. And we're just going to be talking about, okay, let's say we were trying to get more write-ups. Let's say we were trying to sort of build a strategy for how you're presenting this music to the industry, to people that can help you. Like, what would be the things that might work for this? And again, I sort of eat my own dog food, right? So if I give you guys or anyone that I'm working with as a consultant or anything, advice or ideas, it's not, I never recommend shit that I don't actually do myself. So in a way, this is also an experiment to see if people that are watching are actually interested in doing this. And if so, we'll do more of these. And I think that's one of the things that you can sort of keep as a basic idea with what you're doing is everything is an experiment. And if something doesn't work, great, that's valuable information. And if something does, then that's great. And I think just having like some flexibility in what you're doing is really a smart thing to do. So what I'd like to do is let you guys talk a little bit about sort of what, let's let you introduce yourselves to people that may not be familiar with you as artists and as a team. Tell us a little bit about your background together and about the record that you just came out with.
Okay. So my name's Aya Safiya. I'm a singer-songwriter, artist, and my background is more in traditional world music. And I've always wanted to write songs, write more pop songs. And actually, Tano had been doing that a long time. So when we started hanging out together a lot, he kind of helped me. He kind of started helping me with that and inspired me to do that.
Yeah. So then the first, I guess, about when was that? Maybe 4 years ago was when Aya had been writing songs for a long time, but had never really looked into actually recording them and producing them.
I didn't know that was like possible for a normal person.
Like
What do you mean? What was possible? Producing records?
Yeah.
Like at home, I guess. Like she didn't think that like, producing a professional releasable record at home was easily possible.
Especially pop music. Like I come from, like more acoustic folk music. Everything's live and, raw. And it just seemed like a totally different world that I couldn't step into. And then Tano one day was like, hey, look at this album look at these songs that I produced myself. And I was like, oh, you could do that?
Yeah. So anyway, I had been writing these songs, and then finally, after I showed her music that I had recorded and produced, we decided to take a stab at, recording and producing one of her songs. And I think that was about 4 years ago that we first did that, right?
3-4 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. And then so she had an EP that came out in 2018, about exactly 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we did that, and then pretty much ever since that EP came out, we've been slowly building this EP over the past 2 years, basically. Some of the songs are old that she had written like years ago, and some of them are newer.
So if I understand correctly from what you guys just said, in a way you sort of, Tano, you were writing songs, but you weren't producing them, and Aya, you were writing songs, but you weren't producing them.
Well, I was producing my songs, like maybe as I told you in our last stream, or maybe our first stream, that like I got into recording very quickly as I started writing songs, and how recording and writing are very intertwined for me.
Yep.
So like like in high school, I really started to like mess around with Logic and GarageBand and like write songs as I was recording them. And then as I started to get to know Aya more, which was maybe like 5 years ago, then I started to show her all these songs that I had produced for myself, and for other people. And then she was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know that pop music could be produced in a bedroom," basically.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
it was yeah, I mean, in a way, you guys have sort of complemented each other and allowed each other to sort of create something that would have been impossible individually.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Have you done a lot of performing together, and how does that feel when you guys are performing your material?
Yeah, well, we have been performing together for a long time, but again, like with our more world music stuff or traditional music.
For how long would you say?
So long. I don't know.
10 years, 12 years?
More, maybe 15 at least. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, not that long. I don't know.
Maybe like
that,
around
like
10 years. Yeah.
Something.
Like playing Greek music and Balkan music together in the Bay Area.
And then
we started performing together a long time ago.
And then only recently, since I moved to New York in September, I kind of put together my pop band so we can start performing live. And I asked Tano to play guitar. And, you know, he's also kind of like manipulating, or I guess that was Gillian, our drummer, that was doing the tracks. That it helped that Tano was there, you know, like the producer being there. And so it's only been like, you know, a few shows that we started doing our own music. Oh, and then Tano finally did his, performed his own music for the very first time.
Well, first time in a long time.
First time, but he did it solo, but
yeah, totally alone.
Anyways, but it's only been in the past year that we started performing our own music together.
Unfortunately, we just we were kind of like we moved to New York, you know, 11 months ago. And that's Aya got her pop band together, and we had like 4 or 5 shows or something. And then the pandemic hit, and that was that.
But right? We did like a couple live
streams. Then we did a couple live streams.
Shows also doing that, and it's been good. Yeah, kind of sad that we can't do like live shows anymore, or at least for a while. But well, it was going. It was really good. It was fun.
So Kevin actually had 2 really good questions. Kevin, I'm going to wrap back around to those a little bit later in the conversation. What we're doing at the moment is I'm trying to gather some intel about kind of what makes you guys tick, what makes the sort of project tick as a duo.
Okay.
And I've got certain things I want to sort of gather, but we'll definitely wrap back to sort of your writing process. How do you sort of approach writing hits? What does that really mean? So I'm gonna sort of present almost like a variation on that idea. Let's talk about the record for a second. It's an EP, so it's got 5 songs. Let's say this EP gets shipwrecked and you don't have access to it anymore, but you can only save 1 song.
Oh, that's so hard. Okay.
What's the song?
Probably Washed Away, the one that you saw on the Tiny Desk.
Okay, so go on. Why? That's your answer. Tana's might be different, but so tell me why.
Well, I guess we could just re-record and reproduce everything.
Yeah.
But that song I think is the most perfect. It was hard, and it was my favorite song that, like, the production wise, it was my favorite that Tano had ever produced for me, and so that was kind of special, and I just don't want to lose that. I don't know.
Go on a little more. Like, what would you can use any? By the way, like, you can describe stuff any way you want. You don't have to describe anything specifically about it, but what was it about that production or the sound or the experience of that song or what it represented or anything that made, or the performance, what was it that made that the one that you would save?
Well, the reason why I loved it so much is because I love music that sounds really nostalgic. That's like kind of the thing I love most about music, I think. And that song, the production, the song itself, like they're all like, I don't have favorites or anything, but the production, it was just really felt nostalgic, and it was just so perfect for me. And that moment when I heard it, I loved it. And if it was a different recording, even though we could probably, replicate it, like I'm scared to lose that perfection, I guess. Does that answer?
Right. You loved how it turned out, and yeah, Tori's like, dude, it's like asking someone to pick their favorite child. But I go right for the throat, and this is part of what makes this shit work is when you're trying to, whether it's getting write-ups or you're trying to get a radio station to look at what you're doing, or you're trying to get a management team to look at what you're doing, you're translating something that's untranslatable. You can't translate music.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it so powerful and why we can't live without it. And then you have to say, and this translates to, it doesn't really work, but yet you need to do it. And so trying to get to the heart of like, what does this music mean? What's cool about this process is if you hand your music to somebody and say, whatever you think it means is what it's going to mean, then you're letting someone else translate your meaning for you. Whereas if you can at least, you don't necessarily have to sort of say, hey, the focus track here is washed away. You could, you might. Mm-hmm. But even if you just say, here's something magical about this song, and here's why I like this song, and here's what this means to me, then you're sort of, I mean, you translate, I think, Japanese to English and back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Aya? So you know what I'm talking about. There's never a direct translation from one language to another, ever.
Yeah.
Ever. But if you have a little more say in what people are taking when they're describing you, it will do you good. It will do your artistry good. And moving forward, they will be saying things in a realm that actually means something to you. So I know it's kind of a tough-ish question. Tano, do you agree with that, or anything else about that song, or would you pick another song?
I mean, I definitely think that song is the most unique and would be the most difficult to recreate. So in that sense, in the shipwreck scenario, I feel like that is a good choice. If you're asking for just my favorite song, I think I would pick the 5th track, Anata ga tonari ni iru.
Interesting, because that's probably the most simple. And producers usually like complex things. Why did you pick the last track?
I can tell you why.
Oh.
Because it's the newest one.
Okay.
You can afford easily.
It's the freshest. When did you guys do it?
Since quarantine started. Like,
yeah.
I wrote it like in April, I think, and then we produced it pretty quickly right away.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I do tend to like things that are fresh, because I feel like I'm always evolving and improving as a producer and songwriter. So I tend to feel like the newest thing that I've done is the most evolved thing, And that song is simple, but something about it is just like, it all fit together so well for me that it came together really quickly. Mm-hmm. And I love the feeling that song created with the combination of the meaning with the production that we added to it. I feel like the production fits the meaning of the lyrics so well.
Right.
So,
Sezzy, thank you for bringing some fans over. I appreciate it. That's great. And Tori actually sort of mentioned something that was popping into my mind as I'm listening to you guys say that. So again, sort of circling back to this theme for people that are popping in, or for people that are kind of like listening. The whole conversation is sort of around how can you present your music to somebody and get more write-ups. So in a way, what you're doing is translating it is one way of describing it. Another way of describing it is you're sort of making it into a story. In other words, imagine that your music or your album is like a set of characters. Mm-hmm. And there's no story there. It's just sort of, they're just standing there. And you're about to say, and this is how the story goes. Right. And again, you have a lot of control, if that's the right word. You have a lot of influence. Journalists, or anyone that's writing about you, they want you to give them a certain amount of the story for them, usually. Not all of it, because we all have a creative ego, and we all like to think, oh, well, but I came up with this piece, right? But you want to give them enough that it feels easy and inspiring for them to go, oh, that's an interesting story. What if this guy, and what if we talk about, right? So for example, in that sort of one sheet, or the EPK, or the sort of the information that you're sharing to people, even if it's just a couple minutes over the phone when someone's thinking about writing about you, and Tori just picked up on it naturally, you know, there's this interesting, literally kind of yin and yang dynamic, or sort of complementary dynamic that you guys just described about, you know, a nostalgic kind of energy and appreciation and place, and then this kind of new, fresh, right? And it's very organic, like everything that Tano talked about in the earlier live stream that we did. You know, you like having a lot of different things happening at the same time. You like that creative flow. You like being able to think of something and then make it immediately. And then maybe in Aya's case, it's more like there's a more holistic view of like connecting the past and the present and the future, or whatever the case may be. I'm rambling into an area that I really don't know about, but the point I'm making is you guys can decide if that resonates with you, or if it just sounds like fluff. And if it does resonate, you can say, hey, you know, there's this sort of magical combination of forces on this record that combines, you know, nostalgia with something new. And literally you could use, and by the way, I mean, in a couple of days, this will be available. So you could go back and listen to this. If there's nuggets in here, take them, take them. And say, you know, quote yourselves and say, you know, according to Tano, his favorite track is the 5th one because it's the newest. Whereas Aya feels that the one that's the most nostalgic is most, you know, inimitable and impossible to recreate. And that it automatically makes you want to listen to the music. It adds some dynamic and some context, and it shows you guys as real people, not fancy artists trying to pose as something, but like your real self, but also with a certain level of, I don't know what the word is, mystique, or some artist persona. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kevin's got a question. What are the keywords or elevator pitch that you for selling songs, artist manager in the industry? So it's interesting you're asking that, Kevin. It's a great question, and it's, in a way, it's sort of at the heart of what we're doing right now. At the same time, to sort of use your analogy from the record, the sort of other half, there's two sides to this coin. One side is that at the end of the day, people are busy and they're fickle and they're not really interested in what you're doing coming into the room. And it's your job to be like, hey, check it out. And grab their attention. Seriously. I mean, we're all human beings and we all have way too much going on. So on some level, you sort of have to kind of sell your record. And that's true of anybody, whether you're Rihanna or you're, you know, the next 13-year-old genius that's writing something in their bedroom, right? Doesn't matter. Everybody has to translate what they're doing. At the same time, I think that the most effective way to do that is actually to go inward first, because it's like, imagine that you're, you know, playing cover songs. Great. I'm sure you could put a lot of life into those cover songs, and you could probably make $100,000 a year doing cover songs if you really wanted to. But it won't be the same, and you won't have the same energy and legs as an artist years out. And it'll always feel like more work than it really requires, than as compared to, you know, making your own music and getting better and better and clearer and sharper about what you're doing. So I think the first step, Kevin, in my opinion, is have something that's real that you want to bring to the table before you start selling it. Right. So that's what we're trying to do in the first kind of half of this, is like figure out, a little bit about what makes you guys tick. So let me ask a couple other sort of goofy questions that if I'm a manager or if I'm a consultant or something, these are the kinds of things that I ask artists. So like for each of you, just very quickly, Aya, how long have you been making music of any kind?
I would say like 23 years.
23 years. Within that 23-year time span, give me one of your favorite moments that you've experienced in music where you were making the music.
Wait. I feel like I'm gonna have to think about it.
Just one of them, right? You could have many favorite
It
moments.
doesn't have to be the most epic moment. Just
Does it have to be
something.
my original music or just any music, anything?
Any music at all. It could be. Yeah, you're already thinking too much. Don't even worry about it. Like I'm sure you have 100. Just give me one. Paint the scene. Tell me what happened.
Okay. At a summer music camp. That's not like a camp, you know, like with like what do you call it, counselors and stuff like that. More like a
music camp.
Music camp, like going more like family camp, like friends camp, like community. Where I used to go with my parents. That's actually where we met. Sitting and jamming at the dam. There's a dam and a dock where there's a lake. With my parents.
Amazing.
At night.
And were you playing violin?
Yeah, I was playing violin then.
Awesome. So if my memory serves me right, and I don't remember the name of the song, but I think you made a song that was sort of reminiscent of that scene.
Not the last song
is about that.
It is about that
location,
lake.
Actually.
Yeah.
About that lake. Yeah.
Yeah, not exactly about that scene, but yeah, about that lake.
What's the name of the song?
Anata ga tonari ni iru nara.
That's the song that I said is my favorite.
It's very long, but it has
amazing.
The name.
Awesome. So do you see what I'm doing here? I mean, that's what makes this whole circuit work. For you guys as creators, but also for people on the outside. Like when you make music, it serves your soul, but when it means something to someone else, it also helps them. And so when you have people that can take some of those little stories and say, oh, this is what sort of, you know, you can use that scene perhaps as an example of what music means to you. And also it is where your relationship started, which is super cool. So like that should be, you know, on the one sheet, not because it sells records. Do you feel where I'm coming?
Mm-hmm.
It's not because people are going to go, oh, that's a really sexy way to sort of like start this story. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's because that's where you are. It's because that's one of your best moments in music. And when you talk more about it, it'll even get better. Right? So, Tano, what would you say is one of your sort of favorite moments in music?
Favorite moments.
It's a hard question. Right?
It is a hard question because there's just like so many memories to filter through. I mean,
just grab one. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I would actually probably at that same music camp. I mean, that camp is just so special to us.
It's so awesome. That's so awesome.
So I feel like, I mean, the reason before I say the actual memory is just that like for me at least, that camp is a big part of the reason that I play music the way I do in the first place. Because like I've been exposed to so much music there and met so many musicians that I admire and that I cherish working with at that music camp that it's just, I think for both of us, it's such a big part of our musical life. Because for me at least, so much of my musical journey started there. So one of my favorite moments, I would say, we had this band called Taraf de Locos that we went on tour with in 2015 and made
What's the first word?
Taraf. TARAF.
It means
What-
band in Romanian.
Okay.
So
So it's a
band-
mix of, got it.
Yeah.
Band of logos. Okay, go.
Yeah, go look it up. It was a really fun project. It's sort of a mix of music from all around the world. Some Latin American music, some
It's-
Greek music.
Yeah, it was mostly a mix of Balkan and Latin.
Yeah.
music.
Okay.
And we all met at the music camp.
Right.
So the band started there. Then we went, into the real world, quote unquote, made a record. We did a tour across the United States for a month and a half. And then, after the tour, relationships in that band sort of got rocky because we spent a month and a half together. So we took kind of a break from each other and from the band. But then we reunited at the music camp later and played a show together there. And that was really special for me, I think, because I just wasn't sure if that was ever going to happen again. At the end of the tour, it was like, oh, well, maybe this is over. And then it happened, and it was difficult, but it was so worth it and so rewarding.
And Aya, were you in that ensemble?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I wasn't sure if okay, cool.
Yeah, it was a 5-person band, and the two of us were in it.
And then after that sort of reuniting moment is maybe when you guys started working a little bit more together as a duo, or
I guess
Well,
so. I mean, we had already
Ish.
started.
We kept playing music. We didn't have any rocky
Yeah.
stuff happening after, and like we went to travel in Europe together, like right after that tour and stuff. So,
amazing.
yeah, we had been,
But I think it's
throughout.
probably true that when that band ended is when we sort of
like our more original, like pop
started
music.
playing
Yeah.
more
Mhm, that's
together.
Amazing. So do you see what we just did? We just discovered an origin story for you.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I mean, that's any superhero story. And I'm not saying that flippantly. Superhero stories are epic myths that still today are a massive part of how we think about life because they're real, even if they're not factual.
Mhm.
And everybody, I mean, you guys actually have an amazing origin story. And again, to put it bluntly, none of that's in the, one sheet. Why the fuck not? Like, that's the shit that is so, you guys take it for granted because it's like your story and you're like, yeah, but that's so, again, you don't have to use that, but it's sort of what made your music come together and what made both of you love music so much.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that those are really cool things for you to consider. And again, you can take this exercise and do it, oops,
What
did
happened?
we
You can
lose you?
hear us, right?
Did the battery die or something? The camera?
Let me check the camera. You can keep going.
Right on. So this is now a podcast. We just pivoted to a podcast. The audience, the audio and the audience is still here. So let's, you guys just got a write-up in a website called Hypnotic Asia, right?
Hypnotic Asia, yeah. Oh,
Okay. All right, we're back. Well done, sir. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, Kevin, I just wanted to hit you back. Thank you. And usually it takes me about 5 or 10 minutes to actually respond to people. So sorry, brother. No, your questions are spot on and your questions are 100% welcome. What's up, unknown? And it's not that I'm ignoring your questions. It's just that we're doing something semi-specific around trying to get some ideas for how to pitch and present an artist to publicity outlets. So we've got like certain things we're doing, but I'm definitely checking out what you're saying, and I'm gonna include it back in there, I promise. And we'll definitely explore some of that stuff further, time allowing, if you guys are able to. So I really liked that write-up. How did you guys feel about the write-up in the Hypnotic Asia?
I didn't realize you call it a right. It was an interview, right?
Well, I mean, it's written.
Okay.
Like maybe it's all. Is it available as an audio too? I didn't even notice.
No, it was
No.
a written interview.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a written interview.
It was fun.
And
I love-
actually, Tori, could you do me a huge favor and post the link to that because it's a great interview / write-up. Go ahead.
So what was the question? Just how do we feel about it?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it was really fun. I don't think I've done much of that before. Like I've had like phone interviews and stuff, but nothing like where I like can actually.
You have time to like
yeah.
craft the answers a little more.
So it was fun. Like
what's up, Annie? Good to see you. Thank you, Tori, for posting that. So you felt good about it. It's probably the most recent and maybe semi the biggest coverage you've had for the EP so far. It's only been out like 3 days.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not really expecting much else.
Really?
Unless like, actually, I have a question. I don't know if I should ask right now or later.
No, you definitely shouldn't ask right now. I'm kidding.
So one major question I've always had was like when I look up like tips for sending your music to blogs, it would always say like people want new music. If it's like a week old, don't bother sending your stuff anymore. Like just focus on your new music coming up.
Like they prefer unreleased music.
Yeah, exactly. They want to hear unreleased
music. So your question is that legit and does that matter and should we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it worth pursuing coverage even a few days after the release
or
has
even
been released?
weeks after? Yeah, whatever. I don't know what the.
So I would say that my first piece of advice is you need to flip that script. Okay. And what I mean by that is, in that scenario you just described, you're the actor and they're the director, and you're like, please, can I have the part? Mm-hmm. You're not the dancing monkey in this scene. In other words, they need content and they need material that's valid, that keeps their pipes flowing. Do you understand me?
Yes.
And you help them stay relevant. And if your music is good and you have a story that helps them, I would encourage you to look at it through the other side of the lens and say, what are we trying to achieve in terms of the message we're putting out about our record, and who is going to help us do that? You are the director and they are the talent. You feel me?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
So in other words, I don't mean like you're trying to exploit them.
Yeah.
What I mean is you're the artist, right? You have the content. They're writers. I mean, I'm a writer, and I know, like, I have a certain role to play in this, but I'm not the one that created this. If I interview Emma McGann, I'm not the star of the story. She is. I'm here to find out what makes that story tick. If I'm interviewing you guys, it's not about my ego. It's about what are you guys trying to do and why is that important, right? So what I would say is that another way of looking at it that's a little, I have a little side of sort of tough love in me. So sometimes if I come across, I don't mean, but like, the lazy way out is to say, oh, it's their choice to see whether our music matters enough or not. That's a lazy choice. To me, the flip, which is better, is look, what are our goals here? I want to get 10 write-ups. Cool. What kind of write-ups? Do we want to get the Rolling Stone write-up? Do we want to get Music Business Worldwide or A&R Registry write-up? Do we want to just get something in Hypnotic Asia again with the same person that wrote it again? Like, your goals matter, but you have to be clear about what those goals are and why you want to achieve those, and then how you want your story to be told. So don't let people that, I mean, these blogs are competing with each other to get content. So the other aspect of that is that now that you have a bit more control in the dynamic of it, you also have more responsibility. We just lost the video again.
Oh, Tano, we lost the video, I think.
Or maybe it's just a Wi-Fi thing. I don't know.
No, I think
we lost the video, right? So another way of looking at this, and I think it's why it's valuable to have you guys on and to have people sort of listening and checking this out, is it's your responsibility to have your story together, not theirs.
Yeah.
It's like, to use an analogy that may or may not land, if you have a startup company and you're pitching for venture capital, it's your job to have the vision and say, you may not see it right now, but we're going to be in every household in America in the next 5 years, or whatever the hell your pitch is. You need to have a vision, and then bring that to people who say, oh, wow, I didn't see it that way. That's awesome. We should do a story about you guys. You feel me? Don't hand it to them and go, let us know if you want to do a write-up. That's not the move, right? Does that make sense?
Yes. I'm so sorry. There's a centipede in the room and I just freaked out.
Oh, that is pretty awesome.
Sorry.
There's a centipede in there. Dude, you know how good luck that is?
What do you want me to do about it?
Tano, dude, you got to man up right now. You got to take care of that centipede. Emma is in the room, by the way. Bear with me a second. We're gonna be we have a centipede moment, and I'm not even kidding.
Sorry.
We have a true, legit centipede moment.
Okay, I think Tano's gonna take care of it. Tano, it's okay.
Awesome.
It went under the couch. It's fine. It's fine. Let's just focus on the camera. I'm so sorry.
They're not that poisonous.
They're not poisonous at all. I mean, like the ones on the East Coast, they're not dangerous at all. They just creep me out so much.
I know. Like everybody's like, "Where's the video?" It's like Blair Witch. This is literally like This is just like Blair Witch. And we actually did this on purpose. We're like, okay, as soon as the centipede shows up, I want you to cut the video and just let them imagine the show.
Okay, now we're just trying to figure out the camera.
It's all good.
I'm okay.
So I want to bring someone on who is a friend of our broadcast here, our cast, and her name is Emma McGann. For those of you that don't know her, you need to check out her streams here at YouNow and her website. And she is literally the first person that I interviewed when I was looking into live streaming. So she is a really, really great example of how to do this because, you know, she's just got a lot of great things going in terms of her music, in terms of her live streaming, in terms of how she builds community. So I wanted to bring her on and let you guys chat a little bit specifically about, honestly, whatever you'd like to ask her about. But I think she can speak on how to build things out, and particularly from the standpoint of design and color and sort of look and feel for what you might be handing to somebody. I think she can speak on almost anything, but that's one thing she could talk on. So Emma, can I bring you on?
What? Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah, of course.
Should we take a quick break to figure this out, the camera?
We can do that.
Yeah, if you could just
or like if you guys want
unguess
to
and
bring
re-guess
Emma.
us so it comes back.
You know what? Do you think, Tano, it would help if I pull you out and then pop you back in again? Maybe that'll. Let me try that, brother. Can you guys say something so I have you in the feed? Emma, we'll bring you on in a second. Yo. Okay, let's try it again. It's loading, but it doesn't seem to. Oh, there you guys are. Yes.
There we are.
Hey.
Unknown, you nailed it. That
Sorry
was a refresh. That was a refresh moment. Okay, I'm gonna bring Emma on.
Okay.
Because I'd love for you guys to be able to chat with her. And frankly, I'm hoping I can just shut up and let you guys talk directly and ask her questions. Because she's the expert here. Coming in from the UK. It's loading. You're still loading. It's due to the new tier update. Interesting. It's been a little unstable. I didn't know that.
Interesting.
Emma, you're sort of loading. I'm gonna try it again. And actually, Emma, do me a favor. Oh, you have your hand up. Let's try another time. Sometimes this happens.
Oh man, centipedes.
Your response was amazing. That was so straight up Blair Witch. I was like, oh my god! And then you're like, what happened? What happened? What's up, Emma?
Hi guys, what's up?
Hi.
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Moment and came at the exact right time.
That was hilarious. That was a dramatic entrance, Emma. It was like, okay, run the centipede. I want there to be like, you know, that. So how are you?
Yeah, good. At the minute, we're currently re-rigging all of our lights in the studio, so the audience at home can kind of interact and change things. So yeah, it's really busy. UK is crazy as ever, and yeah, all good. How are you guys?
Doing awesome, doing awesome. So you guys are doing a sort of a new setup with the lighting so that it's responsive. Like if things happen, then the lights are going to go, ah.
Yeah, pretty much. We want to get it to the point where anybody in the chat can basically have control over a lighting scene that lasts over a certain period of time, just to make we're trying to kind of basically help the audience interact with what's physically in the room. So we thought a great place to start would be the lighting. So that's what we've been up to this week, and we're kind of trialing it tonight to see how well it goes down. But yeah, it's just something we've been working on this week, and it's been all of my time today.
So is this gonna, you guys are gonna be rolling this out like in an hour? You go on in about an hour or so?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, time, yeah.
Awesome. So guys, hop on there and check it out. So Aya and Tano, you know, do you have any sort of big picture questions for Emma, maybe in terms of just trying to sort of build a bit of a, I hate to use the word brand because I feel like it has the wrong kind of connotation, but are there things that you could, that you want to ask in terms of kind of getting your story together, or sort of like what you're communicating to your audience and to the industry that Emma might be able to help you out with?
I guess, thank you so much. You sound so busy and coming in for this. Thank you. I guess, Peter, you talked about like kind of diving in first before bringing it out. And actually, I feel like I do that pretty naturally. I like spend a lot of time in there.
You mean going inside, sort of introversion, figuring out what makes you tick, that kind of thing. Yeah.
But I guess the part that's harder for me is then how do you present it to people? Like, how do you, like, it's really hard for me to see myself as somebody, like, from another perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's like, it's weird to like think of packaging yourself and who you are and what you're doing like into something that you're essentially like trying to like sell to people, but in a way that you're trying to get your music out. I would probably say, have you got like an EPK or a kind of crush sheet that you send out?
I do have a EPK on my website. I've never like showed it to anybody like for advice or anything, so I don't know how like good it is.
I could give you a whole additional hour of advice on the EPK afterwards, because I took a good long look at it. But that said, what are your thoughts on putting that EPK together, Emma?
I'd probably say like, second opinion on the EPK is like definitely really, really helpful. I think early stages, I kind of did it myself at home, and through trial and error would add things on year by year. Just little things that you don't necessarily think about that other people might need for, like, I don't know, venue specs, if you're adding a tech spec in, and things like that. So yeah, and I think when it comes to like when it comes to presenting yourself as a brand, like I would say like simplicity goes a long, long way, I think, especially when it comes to expressing your music in a kind of visual way. If there's like a running kind of aesthetic or theme that you connect with in some way, and you're feeding that into your music, maybe through your music videos, or maybe it's through the logo you have or the press shots you have even, I feel like once you start building a community, your community kind of recognize for that as well. It becomes a part of your artist identity. And I think, you know, it's not about building something that you think your audience is going to like latch onto. I think it's about really expressing something that you're really passionate about, whether it be I don't know, like a particular. I mean, I'm a graphic designer as well, so like I could talk about fonts all day long. But like, if there's a particular aesthetic that is connects to a single that you put out in terms of like the theme of the single, right? That's something that running theme through to you as the artist. I reckon like when it comes to getting your logo and your basically your visual ID done, it can be really helpful to kind of enlist somebody if you're not a graphic designer, or perhaps even if you are, it's good again to get that second opinion, just to kind of iron out the things that you wouldn't think of in terms of like a color palette, which can be super important to keep consistent across your EPK, across your socials, across your website. I think that's the kind of the way I've always looked at it from a packaging point of view, visually, just to kind of present myself as an artist as well. Obviously, it's all about the music, but people, you know, are wanting that kind of visual representation of who you are as well. So I would say, obviously, get that second opinion. If you haven't already, sit down with somebody who you might already know, if you're not already a designer yourself or you're not doing that yourself. If you can enlist a friend to sit down with you and maybe rework a logo or rework, I don't know, like a single artwork that you've got kind of drafted, it can be just really, really helpful to kind of iron out everything. I think in the early stages, what I did was like I had almost like a sheet of different types of logos, and I kind of shot them around to people that I knew and said which one kind of speaks to you the most, and which one do you think shouts like, you know me, which one kind of do you think represents me? And all of them kind of, you know, landed on the simplest kind of logos, if that makes sense. When it comes to, you're talking about like the color palette and stuff, I think that's where you just have fun with it and you get to express yourself a little bit more, and exploring a cool color palette that, you know, doesn't have to be consistent, but maybe it's consistent for like an EP or the website for now. That can be really fun to explore, and that's when I think you need a designer for it.
So at the end you were talking about consistency, but like for you, have you seen evolution like with your own brand, like aesthetic?
Yeah, definitely. Like over the years, I think it's kind of come into its own in terms of like my personal kind of who I am has kind of fed into the brand a little bit more, and it's happened in quite a natural way. So I think if you're open to that as well, and open to kind of showcasing a little bit of your personality and other interests as well, especially if you're looking to do, I don't know if you are, but if you're looking to do variated content on a live stream, for example, or on YouTube or whatever, yeah, I think it's good to keep it consistent, but the evolution for me is definitely gone from, I would say, like a more kind of amateur look that didn't really stand out for me and wasn't representing who I was as a songwriter or an artist. And then it's kind of developed more because I had more of a say, and I kind of took the reins a little bit and said, okay, well, that's not what I'm all about. This is more, you know, representative of the music as a whole, if that makes sense.
Emma, can I ask something? Because my initial thought is to sort of ask, okay, what were those sort of hallmark moments where you decided, oh, it's going to be, you know, candy red and blue or whatever. But I think what might be actually more useful is, what was the process that you were always in? Whether you picked something and didn't love it, or you picked something and you did, what was the space or the process or the thing that you were doing on a regular basis to kind of iterate and give yourself room to experiment, but also try things and see how did that work? Did you have like a way that you were allowing yourself to kind of try things and explore?
Yeah, definitely. So like I say, in the early stages, I was shopping things around to people, asking them what you think represents me. That really helped me kind of focus in on what ended up working really well. Another thing I did was just create mood boards of not necessarily just like types or like color palettes, but just like images that would be a visual cue for when, you know, I'm sat down brainstorming what the next single artwork is going to be, what the new website kind of theme or, you know, color palette is going to be. So yeah, I think throughout the whole process of what I've been doing, I always knew from the very beginning that, you know, I mean, if you look around my house, it's a very kind of colorful place. And maybe like 5-6 years ago, none of that really existed in my brand online. And I think there was a disconnect there. And because I felt like it wasn't representing, you know, who I am. And because I spend a lot of my time online, kind of interacting with the community and playing my music in that way, more so than, you know, typically at venues. I knew that needed to come into it a little bit more, and you know, it just needed more of my personality there. So I would probably say over the last 4 years, it's been a natural kind of progression into it. But I think that's only because I've allowed myself to be a little bit more open and also take the reins a little bit myself too.
Awesome.
I have a question, and I don't think I told you about this before, Peter, but so I a few months ago, or when was this? I guess this was in March, because or no.
It was a while ago.
Anyway, months ago, I had I submitted my music to, basically it was like something a friend told me about. It was like a label pitching service, basically. And I
remember the name of it?
I
mean, remember. It's fine if you don't. I'm just, it would give me some context, because I mean, that could mean any number of different things. Don't worry about it. We'll circle back.
Yeah.
So you were,
Basically, I had my music pitched to
for licensing or for publishing or for what?
Like for a record label, like for a record deal consideration. So I had
a record deal. So you were talking to an A&R team. Well, who's pitching what? Like, you have a team pitching you for a label? Was it management?
It
was this like guy. Okay, it was this guy, Chris Sparks.
Oh.
Okay.
And he, I don't know where a friend referred me to it, and it was like for a small fee. This guy basically pitched. I sent him, you know,
I already don't like it. But what was the right? I was like,
right, and no,
like, but okay, let's look at it this way. What was the goal of the exercise, and what is your question about achieving that goal?
My question is, I actually found it useful. I was also suspicious.
Okay.
Of it. I was like, this sounds kind of fishy, but it, you know, I was like, you know, I feel like I wanted a second opinion on my music, because I feel like I'd been releasing music independently for like 5 years, and feeling like
second opinions from friends, but you wanted something.
I feel like I wanted, my goal was to get some sort of opinion from industry people who are high up and have a say. Basically, I wanted to see, like, does my music, like, am I on the right track, or is this like not even, you know, acceptable, basically, or is it? I wanted some sort of confirmation or opinion from the industry, quote unquote, right? And that's what I got actually out of it. Basically, it was submitted to a panel at Warner Music, and they sent me like a full in-depth review of the music.
Okay, that I like. And how did you feel about the review?
It was really useful. And basically what they said is, like, they were really, really impressed with the music. They said this was perhaps, you know, this was like one of the best musical submissions we've received in a long time. Like, it really stood out musically. And they said the music is there, the production value, the mixes, everything. You know, they were really impressed, and that felt really good, because, like, you know, I'm a mix engineer by profession and a producer, so that, you know, that felt good having that confirmation. But what they said is that the problem was in the brand strategy, and they said, sonically, the music you create is, I just pulled up the email. Sonically, the music you create is impressive, and it has the it factor needed to stand out from the rest. blah, blah, blah. This went on and on. Our concerns have to do with your overall brand strategy. It seems highly awkward and doesn't fit the caliber of the music that you make.
That's very obtuse. What the hell does that mean?
Right. I know, exactly. So
what do you okay, so what do you think, and again, you got Emma McGann on here, so what do you want her to, what feedback would you like from her?
basically my question is like, how do you make your appearance on social media
Thank you, Sam. Thanks so much, man.
authentic, but at the same time professional and catered? Because I feel like it, like, in a way, it seems to me that you don't want to make your Instagram account, for instance, over the top branded and perfect, because then there's no real, like, then that's not really me. That's just like everything is made by a graphic designer and perfect and clean. But
Yeah.
you also want some authentic content
Right.
that's like just you living your life.
How do you strike that balance, Emma?
Yeah, how do you balance those two things?
I think it sounds like you're already in the realm of knowing along the right lines of what you need to do anyway. And I think it comes down to knowing where to host that authentic content where it's not the brand, and then when to share the brand. I think there's a lot of value in like I say, sharing who you are and you know, just personal day in, day out things around your music, attaching like, you know, who you are to what your music is. Like, say one day you do like a cover on Instagram, the next day you know, you're doing something completely unrelated to music, but it's related to you. That's totally okay. I think that when it comes to pushing you as a brand, the only time you really ought to be doing that in a sense of, you know, you're pushing out whatever designs you've got going on, or like the whole theme of who you are, is, you know, maybe when you've got a single going out. If out Instagram specifically, I think that's pretty much the case there. Your brand really, I think can exist in a very, very subtle way, in small, you know, little elements. You know, you don't have to emblazon your logo in the corner of every post or anything like that. I feel like you know, a landing page like a website, that's where you want that kind of stuff to live and decay, because that's where I think a lot of people are gonna especially if, you know, you're kind of sending people who might want to review your music. I think sending them to a landing page and then, you know, hosting like everything like your logo and stuff like that on there, I think that's important. And maybe like in a Twitter banner or on a Facebook banner, on your YouTube banner. Are you talking specifically about like visual graphics, or are you talking about content in particular?
I guess more like content, because I guess I'm thinking about the type of content that you share, you know, like, is sharing, you know, like whatever photos about your day that's not related to a single coming out. And then once in a while you post a graphic that's promoting your single coming out. Like, does that, like, to someone, I don't know, to someone who doesn't know me looking at my Instagram account, like, does it look fake or inconsistent if I have like, okay, all these posts about whatever, I went to the beach with my friends, I had dinner at this restaurant.
And that's a great question.
Yeah. It's like,
it's a great question, and I think it's kind of what Unknown is pointing at too. It's like, how much of that sort of personal information do you blend into there that might not seem on brand or relevant to you as an artist? I don't notice you doing a lot of that, Emma. It's you dose it every once in a while, so we feel like we know who you are, and you'll share a shot of the pug, or you'll share, but it's not, even the pug is sort of on brand in a way, and fits within. It's not like, but I'll give you my answer, and then I'm going to let Emma respond, because when I was looking at all of your stuff, you know, Aya's stuff and then Tano's stuff and the two of you together and all that, what I noticed, and I don't remember details, but I remember going to, I think, Aya, to maybe your Twitter or something, and I don't remember what social it was, but there was a lot of stuff that had nothing to do with your music aspirations or work. It was like, here I am doing this and that, or it was just like life stuff.
That's probably true.
Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, that's right on. Do that. Except that people that want to see you through the lens of your creative artistry and what that means to them selfishly as an individual that loves to hear you and know you as an artist, it dilutes that mystique a little bit and dilutes the message that you have when too much. I think that the balance tips too far towards Aya Safiya the person versus Aya Safiya the artist, and there's a space for that in other parts of your life perhaps, but I think I noticed it yesterday and I wasn't even looking for it, and I'm like, I feel like I'm getting too much behind the curtain here when I want to be in the audience loving the artist as an artist. Does that make sense? That would be my take on it.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, it just also
Emma, what?
Oh, sorry. It just also feels like then there's the other half of the people who like really want to know you, right?
I think you could do both. Emma, what do you think?
Okay.
I think, yeah, you're totally right. It's like, you've got people who want to see that part of your life, but you'll also have other people that just want to be there for the music. And I think it comes down to knowing your community and being actively, looking at the insights on. If we're looking at Instagram in particular, looking at those insights, seeing what types of posts do best, and posting more of the posts that do the best. That's what's going to grow your audience. And the thing is, if you're posting like your personal, like just bits and bobs of your personal, and you found that balance, like where you're finding that the majority of your audience are interacting not just with the music but with everything that you're posting, I feel like it has the ability to kind of pick up on into new audiences if you're using a particular hashtag. So for example, perhaps you're at a certain beach in a certain place and you're tagged in that place, using hashtags in that way. I mean, you guys probably already know this, but that entwining that personal content is just going to leach from different audiences to pull them over to the other content that you're hosting, which is your music. So ultimately, I think it is like, I think there's no problem sharing parts of your personal life alongside your music, but I think it comes down to knowing what your audience want to see from that. And like, for example, maybe you've done a live stream on the beach and you've just been like playing guitar or whatever, like just as an example, and maybe you like shoot a small video there and post that on Instagram. Maybe that's something that they would be excited to see because they've been there in the live stream, or it's got that kind of connection to music in some way. Not that it has to, but I don't think there's any problem as long as that balance is there and people don't think like a week from the day you post I don't know, just a selfie that has no link to anything, that you're not going to post any more music.
Right.
What I'm hearing, Emma, wrap back around a couple of times too, is this idea of getting feedback. If you're looking at your design, bring it to 5 people you trust that you think understand you and get what you're trying to do, and ask them what they think. If you're thinking about things you're posting online, whether it's for the industry or for your audience or both, listen in the form of how many people responded to it or anything else. Listen. In other words, your art is a gift. Ultimately, it's for yourself. If you didn't love doing it, you wouldn't do it. But it's also something you're giving to the world. And so I think being able to, Emma's mentioning in a lot of different ways, kind of the same theme of like, listen to what people are responding to and try and be sensitive to that without pandering to it. And lean on the things that people go, oh, I love learning about the pug. Great, I'll talk more about the pug. Who knew, right? There's that process of like, who knows? But being open to and speaking to things. I want to be sensitive to the time, and we really appreciate. By the way, Vicky, thank you so much for the likes. Sorry it took me 5 minutes to say that. I'm learning. I'm getting better. Thank you guys for your questions and things. I'm trying to sort of be present to everybody and But thank you very much for everybody for Unknown for your comments as well. Emma, do you need to pop off and get ready for your?
I'm good for another 10 minutes. If you need me here, I'm happy to.
Amazing, guys. So take advantage. This is a really great opportunity for you. So any other questions that you might have, go for it.
Any questions?
You go for it.
I brainstormed questions last night. I don't remember.
Anything specifically branding stuff or anything related to PR and marketing kind of?
Anything, all of those things I think are on topic and
Okay.
certainly things that Emma could talk about. I mean,
all the things.
Well,
yeah, just how does it all work, right?
Something we were talking about last night about one of the questions that we've been thinking about is like, okay, we've spent a lot of time, or I am a lot more than me, when leading up to a release, emailing lots of blogs and music publications to try to get an attempt to get featured. And you email the press release, you send a note, you try to find someone's name if possible to make it more personal. But obviously the response rate is so low, and we're aware that probably, a huge majority of those blog sites don't even click the link to listen to the music. They don't even get there.
So what's your question?
So the question is, how do you make a note or email to a blog site that stand out so they actually want to click the link to listen to the music?
So you're saying how do you actually, when you're reaching out to someone by email, say, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Emma? I'm gonna pop off for 2 minutes because I gotta take a pee break, but I'll be back and then I'll answer the same question.
Okay.
Cool. I think it comes down to persevering, definitely. It's absolute hell, just siphoning through all of these emails and just. It's the worst feeling in the world as well when you don't get that. Everybody gets the low response rate. So remember that it's not just you, it's everyone. And you're definitely 100% right. A lot of blogs won't click on purely because of the massive emails they get.
Yeah.
One thing I'd recommend is, and it's, you got to work a little harder for it, but ultimately it works out better because of two reasons. If you can find a contact that can actually recommend you, if you can basically come through to a blog and get recognized by a blog via a recommendation, you are way more likely to kind of build a connection that's not just going to make a certain blogger post about you, but also make them remember you a little bit more, and also will give you the kind of foundation to build a relationship with that person. It's great when you can sit there and you can write 200, 300 emails out to blogs, but even the ones that do get back to you, the relationship needs to be kind of catered to, and it needs to still needs attention after they've posted about you, if you want them to post about you again. So I'm just going by where I found success, and that's through personal recommendations if you can. And a lot of that I found is through networking. And people at as many different events as possible, following up with people. There's a lot of admin involved, and it's kind of a part of the job, unfortunately, and it really sucks. Unless you can, you've got the money to pay a PR company, which can be a very valuable thing to do as well if you don't have the time to sit through and do all the emails yourself. So I would say if you can work towards a personal recommendation through, just putting the feelers out there, emailing people that you already, don't be afraid to ask for data as well, and also
ask for what? Sorry, it sounded like the audio dropped, and I just want to make sure they get it.
Don't be afraid to ask for favors from people for those recommendations, and also I would say the golden rule is don't necessarily fall for, you know, sites that ask you to pay a fee to submit your music to a bunch of blogs, because it's a load of bullshit.
Yeah, totally.
Big nods, big nods. Yes.
Kind of just related. If you get your stuff on a blog, would you say it's more important to like keep that relationship and get like for future releases, like, you know, stay with that blog instead of like trying to like get featured on other blogs?
It's not instead of, it's both.
Both, right? Both.
It's like growing.
They work together.
Yeah.
I guess I've always also heard like blogs don't want to feature your stuff if another blog already.
Isn't it the opposite? I thought it was the opposite.
Again, my take on it is there's this weird sort of like, I'm only an artist. Who am I? This person writes a blog. Get all of that crap out of your head. You're the artist. You have the content and the story, and you're providing them with something that they can consider writing about. Now, it's still your responsibility to give that story legs.
Yeah.
But they're not doing you the favor.
Okay.
I mean, they are in a way because they probably have a lot of options. But again, Emma, what's your response?
Yeah, I guess is your question more on like a featured article? Is that what you guys are
for a release?
For a release, yeah. I mean, yeah, it comes down to that's the perfect mindset to be in. You're providing the content there, and you know you're talking about like building relationships with these people. You should even if one like decides to feature you and another doesn't, is there something else they could be writing about that isn't your single? Maybe it's part of your story as an artist. To be the same kind of article, you can always pitch different things at the same time for more scope, I guess. I would probably say that whoever you're working with, like, you know, pocket those emails and nurture those relationships and follow back, even if they don't feature you, which sounds like a lot of work. Like, you know, like I said, it's admin, but it's really worthwhile. And, you know, while, you know, maybe you might get 5 out of 100, if that sometimes like feature your stuff, it's still worth firing out every single time. To the one, and also keeping on top of the ones that are also still active. There's a lot of people that will just sit and just like, and also relevant, like as make sure that the blogs that you're reaching out to are relevant in your field, like your genre and everything like that. I'm sure you guys are doing that anyway. But yeah, I would say that's the perfect mindset to kind of stay in. Just remember that you have value and power as the person going to these blogs saying, here's something that you can post. And if they choose not to, they choose not to and move on to the next person. But don't, you know, throw away their email. Just always follow up with them afterwards too.
Okay. Can I ask one more question before you go? Since your brand has so much to do with aesthetic, right? When you're emailing places, does your email, like, I've also always read, maybe everything I read is wrong, but like, I've read like, don't send attachments, meaning like send links to MP3, to the music, but then with the visuals, do you also not send attachments of like your photo or something? Like,
good question.
For me, obviously music is what matters, but if we're talking that like, I mean, I also like branding too. And if we're talking like your audience likes to see the brand, what does your email look like?
So yeah, I try and steer away from attachments for sure, just for the pure reason that a lot gets siphoned off into people's spam folders.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So, that's why you'll always see blogs saying, or, you know, send a streaming link, don't send me an MP3 or a WAV kind of thing. It's because a lot of them, first of all, the files, I guess the file sizes are more than they want, and also a lot siphoned off into spam. What I would say is a link to that EPK where that visual identity exists. What I do, I have a very kind of simple email signature that, you know, just has my logo. That's pretty much it. I don't attach an image of myself. Always include links to socials. But other than that, it's just links where they can, you know, jump to. Yeah, and in as less clicks as possible, if you can give them that. If you can host, you know, if you don't want them, you know, not every person wants to be clicking through every single page on a website, especially if you've got so many tabs and you do all these wonderful things. So if you can condense that into an EPK and even host it as a one-pager on your website, that's a good place to do that too.
Okay, cool.
Beautiful. Emma, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's always amazing to have you on, and it's good to see you guys are doing so well. We're gonna hop on and watch your new show and see if we can get some lights going in an hour. Love you so much. Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
See ya, Emma.
Bye.
Okay, that was super awesome. I got a lot going on in my mind right now, but first off, thank you guys for so much of what's going on in this chat right now. Unknown especially, I really appreciate what you're putting out there. So here's I'm hearing my phone. Let me close that. That's annoying me. So a couple of things that occurred to me that I want to mention that are sort of parlaying off of your questions, and also her. Thanks so much, Emma. Thank you. For example, I just interviewed Tim Westergren, who is the one of the main guys behind a new live streaming platform exclusively for music called Sessions.
Okay.
And so I do a long interview with him and blah, 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 blah. And then their marketing guy follows up and sends me a Google folder. And it's all fucking organized. And it's like, here are the headshots. Here's the bio. Here's a, our origin story. Here's a deck for the company. They're doing all the work for me. And the fact is that, to Emma's point, don't include all that stuff in an email because it's just going to get filtered out. You want emails to be as short as possible. I mean, we don't really follow this rule that well, Tori. In fact, now that I'm thinking it through, like, we always include an image because I think it's cool to include an image for each person. But we might even need to rethink our own process because I feel like, there might be people that are not even getting that email that we send out the day before each stream because, emails decide what you are going to see and what you're not going to see. So number one is keep your email as slim as possible. But at the same time, if you want people to, I'm not saying we shouldn't, Tori, I'm not saying we shouldn't have an image. I'm saying we shouldn't attach it. So there's multiple ways we can do that. We can have it pointing. There can be an image that lives on the internet somewhere, and your email basically points to that image and loads up when the person receives it, which is different from an attachment. And it could also just be a link. You say, hey, click on this link and get a little more details. Like maybe you give them a little teaser paragraph and then read more, and then you get the whole thing. There's lots of different ways to do it that we're probably not set up to do quite yet, Tori. But the point is, do what we say, do what I say, not what I do, because I'm sending images when you probably shouldn't. But the point is, keep your email copy, your text slim, and don't attach things. But at on the other side of the coin, it's like, do as much as you can for that person. So, I mean, when I talk to artists or I talk to labels or I talk to people, it's like, I know this sounds like you shouldn't be doing this, but do the work for them. Write half the article for them. Because simply put, those people are on deadline. And if they see something, I mean, imagine how I feel when I get that email from, what's the guy's name? I forget his name, but like I'm glad that guy's in the mix and that I have now I don't have to be like, hey guys, can I please get a headshot and can I please get a blah, 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 blah. Now that's something I have to remember to do. And then I have to wait for it to come back. And then I need to make sure it opens up. Right. So make sure that you think through what is it that journalists might need and have all that ready in such a way that it's almost like make it as easy and single click as possible, like Emma said. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
I want to give you guys an opportunity also to ask questions that are in the chat. I want to ask before we move forward, because it's 11:30. First off, how are you guys on time? I can do another half hour.
We're good.
We could do
Dope.
another half hour, pretty much exactly until 3 our time. Yeah.
Amazing. So first off, I want to ask the people that are in here, was this cool? I mean, don't humor us, right? Like, this was the first time we're doing this, and I do the same stuff that Emma does or that other people do. Awesome. So like, we're trying this out. And I think it's interesting for us to sometimes we talk about theory and arrangement. Sometimes we talk about tech and audio. Thank you, Shubi. Sometimes we talk about X and Y and Z. We don't, you know, we're trying to do this so it's interesting for you guys that are coming on as guests and also for people that are watching. So let us know, you know, yeah, this is interesting. I'd love to know more about this or that. If we don't know what you guys are into, then it's a big mystery for us what we should be bringing on, and we just kind of do the best we can. So let us know what you like, and we'll also be sensitive to what you're responding to. That said, I want to share something that if it lands correctly might be a little bit of a mind meld idea. Okay, so back in the day, I used to teach a class on radio promotion when that was a thing, and it's still a thing, but not like it was 10, 20 years ago. And the biggest thing that I had to explain when I had radio promotion clients, or I had artists that were trying to get something done, or even if you're doing tour promotion, it's the same process. You're trying to get write-ups. It's the same basic dynamic. The thing that's most difficult for someone that's an artist to understand is that when you are putting your art out there to be considered for something, the art doesn't matter as much as you think it does. Okay. When someone's assessing this to write about it, it's not a musical decision they're making. They're not thinking, I mean, someone like maybe I'm processing it musically because my background's in music, but most people that are doing something in that capacity are not actually responding to your music. Okay. What they're mostly responding to, consciously or subconsciously, is what I would refer to as your story. Mm-hmm. Your story. In other words, what is this really? What get like in 30 seconds, like, what is this about? Right? Mm-hmm. And if that hooks them, just like a song has to hook somebody, if they go, oh, that's cool, right? It's basically like pitching a movie. Okay, so here's the story. The story is blah, 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 blah. And if someone goes, oh, I can kind of see it, that would be a good story, then you're in. And if you don't, you're not. So the best way to create a story is to be able to have things that you can talk about that are happening. So getting back to your question about like, well, what about, you know, do I wrap back to the blogs that are already supporting me, or how do I sort of move up the food chain, or whatever it is, that you got to understand that when you're in promotion mode, you have a new record that comes out, you know, artists, you think actors like doing press junkets? You think actors like going and doing like 100 interviews, asking the same goddamn questions about, so what was it like working with Robert De Niro on, yeah, it was great, man. You think they like doing that? It's work.
Yeah.
It's part of the job. Show up on time and do the work and be great, and then do it again at 2 o'clock and do it again at 2:30. And it's your job as an artist to show up and do the work. So that said, part of that job means every single write-up that you do, if you get a write-up if you get a write-up in Hypnotic Asia, it's your job as the promotion team, until you have someone that's interested in doing it for you, or you're paying someone to do it. It's your job to tell everyone in your circle that that just happened. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's like if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, it's like it basically didn't fall. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if the only person that knows that are people that hop onto your website, you're not doing your job. Your job is to tell everyone, hey, we just got this write-up. We loved talking to so-and-so, you know, it was a great thing. We did it right here in New York. Hope you guys enjoy. Blah, 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 blah. That's your job right now. If you don't take that on as your job, you're kidding yourself. Does that make sense?
By everyone, do you mean like your friends, or like when you're
No. What I mean is, it's a good question. It's a good question. So here's another way of looking at it that hopefully be a useful answer to your question. Because it gets back to something else you were asking about, like, well, how do I know, you know, when I have like little blogs and medium-sized blogs, and how do I whatever? You know, to use the radio analogy, because I think it's an easier analogy for people to understand, like, instantly. If I'm trying to get on in New York City, if I'm trying to get on like Kiss FM in New York, you think I'm going to just call up the program director and Kiss FM and be like, yo, we got a new record out and we'd love for you guys to hop on it? What do you think they're going to say?
No.
It doesn't work like that.
Well, what do you think they're going to ask more specifically? What are they going to ask me if I say that?
Who are you?
How much exposure has it gotten so far?
What does that mean? What other stations are playing it?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so if I go down, that's a top 50 market. I mean, New York is arguably the #1 market. Depending on who you ask, it's either LA or New York. Okay. So if they're going to ask me that, then I could go down to the top 20 market or the top 50 market. And guess what? They're going to ask me the same damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to go down to where they don't ask me that. So I have to go to Poughkeepsie, or I have to go to wherever and be like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I know you guys have a college radio station that plays, you know, world music on Saturdays. And Dave, we'd love to have our record considered for that show. Start there.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as Dave plays your record and tells you, then all the other people that are not going to play your record yet need to know Dave's playing your record. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a list of 50 people, and then whoever's on the bottom are the people that might jump on that record first, and then everyone else knows. And so over the next few weeks and months, you have something to say every single week. And that way you're never really like hammering on anyone to do anything for you, but they all see that things are happening. Mm-hmm. And so each week a couple more dominoes fall down. And that's work. It's not work that most people find inspiring, but that's what you have to do. And so it's not a matter of like, well, do I only go to these blogs? Or no, you go to everybody. But instead of being a pest, what you do is you say, hey, this is what's going on with us this week. Appreciate all the support. And as long as people see that needle moving from the left to the right, then they know that you're doing what you need to do. And that gives them the confidence to send feedback.
Centipede is back. It's okay.
I think it's really good luck. I mean, I know it's freaking you guys out, but I think it's super good luck. That means you're going to make $100,000.
Not gonna hurt you. It's fine.
Well, we had a ton of centipedes in Boston, so
Before
I'm
we
looking
moved to
forward
New
to
York?
that money. That's a lot of $100,000.
Wow.
Sorry.
I've never known anyone that had like that many centipedes in their life.
In
Really?
Boston, in our apartment, it was like
I had
there
like
were a
10.
significant amount of centipedes. This is the very first one that we've seen in New York.
Oh my God.
Sorry, let's go back to where it's
She's
not-
like, can we please stop talking about the centipedes?
Oh.
No.
God.
Yeah, Tano, dude, like, I mean, you know, handle that shit. I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's maybe like a mascot. You guys could have it like, no, I think. I was like, no,
Ugly mascot.
I'm not going to do that. So yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of what you guys are asking, you know, it's work to sort of make those rounds all the time and do that, but there's really no other way to do it. And
Yeah.
the other advantage of that is, to Emma's points, you know, there's this sort of iterative process you learn. You know, if you have 20 different conversations going on about your album, that's good, because some of them are going to go poorly and fall flat, and some of them are going to be like, oh wow, that really came together nicely, and sort of it was a really cool thing, and this came up and that came up. Hey, maybe I can use that in the next conversation. It's a learning process.
Mhm.
You're learning and getting feedback how other people are like kind of digesting what you're doing, because it seems different to them than it seems to you, and that's the audience you want to be getting feedback from. So there's just a process that you have to kind of be willing to sign up for, and make the rounds and be empathetic, just like you would if you're playing a show, and be like, so what's your favorite track? Why was that your favorite track? Let them be the star, right? When you're talking or emailing, and you'll get a lot of important information about what the brand means to those people and what you can lean into, and what's interesting about your story for that person that you might be able to bring to the next conversation. You have to be your own publicist.
Mm-hmm.
Let me mention a couple of the things that I thought would be politeness and kindness, dude, and love. I mean, it goes without saying, and I think particularly on you now, I mean, I think generally people are good, human beings are good, but I think you now is like especially good. Like, people are really nice on here, so I don't feel like we have to really be like, hey guys, be nice. This is the nicest place I hang out on all week, and I do it twice a week. I'd do it more if I could. So yes, be nice, be polite, be courteous. Like, I think that's just kind of goes without saying. Be kind to the people that be kind to everybody, but you know, that's just something to keep in mind forever. I really like the write-up that you had, the interview / write-up that you had with Hypnotic Asia, and there's a couple of things specifically that I think are good about it. And I also, again, on the tough love tip, I want to take a couple of things from the EPK that you have that I'm not crazy about, and I want to mention those to you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the EPK that you have, because I think it's easier to start with some things that most of what you have on that EPK I'm not really that crazy about.
Okay, cool.
Here are a couple of things that I think are, for anyone listening, that anyone's got a record out or anyone's trying to describe.
Website, right? That you're looking at?
Yeah, it starts with a hauntingly beautiful voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just reordered it recently.
Oh, the writing on. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, your sort of description of yourselves. And Tori, if you could do me a huge favor, and if you're available at the second, and post the EPK link, so people can sort of read along with it. It's I don't know, maybe it's like 3-4 paragraphs. It's not super long. Thank you, Tori. So I think a lot of artists they struggle with this. Couple things that I'm going to mention as sort of basic principles. When you're pitching your own music to people, and again, I was a journalist. I've been a journalist for 20 years, so I've been on both sides of this, and I've also consulted a lot of different projects when we're pitching it and trying to get write-ups. If you're describing your own work with sort of overly complimentary words, it tends to sound self-aggrandizing and ineffective. In other words, if you say to someone, hey, I got this new album out, the production's amazing, the vocals are perfect, and the chords in this music are phenomenal, and the rhythms, did I mention the rhythms? The rhythms are eclectic, and right, you see where I'm going with it?
Yeah.
So whereas most people fall into that trap of like, well, if I don't sound like I'm proud of it, then people aren't going to take it seriously. But the other side of that coin is, if you use adjectives that sound self-aggrandizing, it actually shuts off the sort of brain of the user. Like, okay, this is just bullshit now. So you've got, like, you know, a hauntingly beautiful voice. Let me decide that. Let me listen to it. Don't tell me what your voice sounds like. Give me facts instead of descriptors. Or I shouldn't say it that way. It's not that hard to filter. But don't give me how great it is. Give me either facts or nuances that are almost like statistically valid, right? If you say it's eclectic, that's not necessarily a compliment as much as the fact that it pulls from Japanese influences and Balkan influences and pop influences. It's eclectic. We can all agree it's eclectic. right?
Yeah.
But if you tell me it captivates your listeners and puts them under a spell, it doesn't help you get a write-up. You feel what I'm saying?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, question.
Yep.
Maybe.
So
If
let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Hauntingly beautiful voice, captivates your listener and puts them under a spell. Refreshing, catchy and familiar, intriguing uniqueness. Even if you say as a veteran in traditional Greek and Balkan music, that's too strong a word. I mean, if you'd been doing this for decades, and arguably you have, but veteran is like, you see what I'm saying? The words you're using come across a bit strong.
Okay.
And I'm not saying you don't deserve to be called that. I'm saying you have an agenda now to get someone to take your music seriously and consider writing about it. That's your agenda. And so you overstating the case doesn't help your case.
So if I'm not mistaken, you've taken a lot of these words from write-ups you've gotten that are basically like what journalists have said. Not all of them, but
Just
some of them, right? Would it
Well,
be better
also,
to, in a write-up, actually quote what other people have said, or not?
Well, you're already doing that. You're already doing that on the website. You have a couple of quotes. So yes, let other people speak for you.
I guess.
But also, you can quote yourself, right? If I do an interview with you and we get some cool shit from you guys over the last 2 hours and you say, that was a magical moment when I was playing at camp and this and that, and it was camp, blah, 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 Tano says, quote, that's different than this is a magical album.
Yeah.
Right? So you can quote yourself and that can be very effective if the quote is coherent, relevant and revealing in some way and intriguing and quotable. So you can definitely quote yourself. You can quote other people, but don't use hyperbole for describing yourself. A couple other things I want to mention as good positive ideas, and then if you guys have specific questions, we can totally wrap back. I just want to kind of pack as much as I can in the next 10 minutes as possible. Here are some things that I would pull from that Hypnotic Asia interview that I think basically that interview repackaged should be your EPK. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So Tori, if you can, thanks, Unknown. So Tori, if you can put up the Hypnotic Asia write-up so people can sort of pop onto that and be like, okay, so here are some things I love about the Hypnotic Asia that you definitely want to have or consider. Number one, it goes through each song by song. Here's song, blah, blah, blah. And here's what it means and what the backstory is. And here's the second song, and da-da-da-da, right? Now, it doesn't have to be a full paragraph. Maybe it's just a sentence. Maybe it's a couple words. But song by song by song by song means that someone can write about it and sound intelligent and be like, inspired by the tsunami and da-da-da-da, the wistful blah, 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 blah. And now they sound like they really know what they're talking about because you handed it to them. Right? So song by song by song by song makes me want to listen to it, gives me some context, and makes me sound like an expert when I have to write about it in 5 minutes. So song by song by song, definitely. And I like how it came out on the interview. I thought it was really good. What else did I like about it? So song by song by song by song was good. Another thing that helps with write-ups is, give people a sense of the chronology and how this compares to your work in the past. In other words, I need to look like an expert on you guys so I can write this piece, and I've only got 20 minutes and my deadline's at noon, right? So tell me, one obvious difference is that the last EP was all in English and this EP is all in Japanese, hence my other half. Great, now I have a historical through line and I can say, evolving from entirely English back to her Japanese American roots, whatever. Now I sound like an expert again because now I'm putting historical context. Hand that to them. Don't make me figure that shit out and go listen and find out, and right? Give me historical how does this compare to your last EP? How does it compare to your evolution? Tell me. But again, avoid hyperbole. But you're just telling me the last one was in English and this one's in Japanese. That's a fact. That's verifiable. That's very useful. I also like this thing where they say there's a strong presence of place and home, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what we were talking about in the beginning about the nostalgia and the new. Give me some of that yin and yang, those tensions. What's the meaning behind this record? What does it mean for you as an artist? Tell me. Don't make me guess it, right? And then, of course, you always want to give a little bit of room for interpretation because everyone wants to put their own stamp on this creatively. Even journalists want to be like, well, but my special little 2 cents is this and that. I also love that your lyrics are in Japanese. Guess what? I don't speak Japanese.
Yeah.
And so there's something alluring and beautiful about that. There's also something a little frustrating that I wish I knew what your lyrics say. So I like that it says on the first song, is it the first song? The one about the tsunami.
The third.
And so, by wind, by rain, it is, I am, you are, they are washed away. Like, that's amazing. Tell me what the lyrics mean. That's because then I can quote those lyrics and people read that and go, that's amazing. I want to hear this record. There's some really nice gems in there. So song by song, include the lyrics, translations, even if it's in English, include the lyrics, include sort of quotable lyrics or poignant lyrics that are, somehow meaningful. Does that make sense?
You're suggesting to include it all in the EPK, like all the lyrics and.
I'm not suggesting that you include all the lyrics, but what I'm suggesting is that given the nature of your album being all in Japanese and the desire to have write-ups in English, if you can hand someone, it's about curating. Don't give me the whole album of lyrics. Give me the piece that's like, wow, that's beautiful. Like, and you have to just pick what you think is going to be the most writable, right? Okay. And I think what you have here, I think washed away I think it's done. You don't have to overthink it. Just include those lyrics. I think that's really, really a good thing to do. I think I don't want to say playing up, but like in one way or another, describe to me the dynamic between Tano and Aya. Let me know what the story arc is. Is Tano the new and Aya the nostalgia? Or you know what I'm saying? Like, give me something where I can feel like I'm on the inner circle and I get the inner story and I can tell the potential listener / reader, like, hey, I kind of like, I'm buddies with these guys and I understand that the dynamic is X and Y and Z. Right? Those are some things that I think would be cool to include. Here's the other big challenge that almost every artist struggles with is what do I call myself? In other words, what style of music is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard.
Right? And everybody hates that because I don't want to be put in a box, but it's not quite this, but I don't want to be sort of, pigeonholed into some eclectic world music thing that nobody's going to understand, right? Yeah. So I actually spent a few minutes yesterday with like a long descriptor sentence, like it's this, and I just forced myself to get tighter and tighter. What is the essential, what is the most kind of marketable, sticky version of what someone might call the music that you're doing? And I have to say, before I share that, there's a strength and weakness in the EPK, in my opinion, in that it's, these 5 songs are quite different from each other. The first and the third, I think it is, are somewhat similar, but there's a lot of difference going on, which is cool, but it's also not as easy to understand and describe this and also playlist it or sync it or anything else when it's like, whoa, it's this sort of like 5-headed hydra, right? So again, it's a strength and a weakness. So in my, what I would recommend as two possible ways to describe this is ambient J-pop
Okay.
or cinematic J-pop.
Okay.
And the fact that you responded that way means probably it's cinematic.
Oh, really?
Well, maybe.
I mean, just because I don't know, you guys can think about it. But
Was
you like the first one?
I think
Yeah.
both are good. Ambient
Okay.
and cinematic are both good.
And again, that's two words, ambient J-pop. And I mean, are there aspects of that EP that don't really fall exactly into that description? Sure. But if you listen to all 5 of those songs, they all fit into that more than they don't fit into that. And they fit in different ways. And so it adds this sort of like, okay, now I sort of get this record and I get this artist. And also it's not like overly pigeonholed. In other words, ambient J-pop's like, oh, let me hear it. That's cool. Cinematic J-pop, cool. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
So again, I wanted to share that because it took me a minute to get there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a really important thing for you guys to decide if someone says, so like, it's cinematic J-pop. Okay, send it to me. You better have that figured out because that's the hook of the record. That's the hook of your hook is what is this in a couple of words? Don't take an hour to describe it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you.
2 minutes left. 2 minutes. What? Yeah, go.
Kind of the structure of an EPK. So like Aya has it set up where, you know, at the top she has her social links, then she has images of all her release covers.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
You're stacking my eyes with a bunch of stuff that I have to scroll through.
Okay. It's
great from a visual standpoint, but it also is some work and it fills up my screen and then I have to dig in. So I won't tell you how to organize your website, but you know, there's a whole thing called design. There's a whole thing like user experience. Make that easier. If I'm looking to write something, I don't want to have to do this or scroll, right? So maybe just have the one new EP image. That's the one you're selling. And then have the other ones at the bottom with a link like past albums. Right? Think it through logistically for someone that only has 20 minutes and they really want to do a write-up, but you better hand it to them in a way that's easy for them.
So an EPK, I thought that it was something that you do like just it's like for me, for my artist, but should it be catered to whatever,
to the current release,
or no, to the current, like whatever you're pitching?
An EPK stands for
electronic press kit.
So it's an electronic press kit. So it's not what should be in it, it's what's its function. And that answers your question. In other words, if your function is to try and get a write-up for this EP, then make it something that lends itself to getting a write-up for this EP. We don't need to know your whole backstory in order for us to get a write-up for your EP.
So like if I'm trying to pitch different things at the same time, I should have multiple EPKs. That's
not what I'm suggesting either. I'm just saying, sorry, what I'm saying is that your electronic press kit should be, it's very possible to devise an electronic press kit that basically works for a lot of different kinds of coverage. That's a well-written press kit. And again, I mean, this has been kind of a workshop version of the discussion. I mean, for what it's worth, this is not like a commercial or anything like that, but like I do this for a living. So if there's a moment in time where me or someone, a friend of yours or someone can just be like, look, I'm a writer, I can do this. Let's work together and do it. That's one way to do it. I don't necessarily think that's necessary yet, but I think if you empathize with someone who's trying to write about this and trying to keep it sort of clean and tight and sort of right to the point, and you go back and watch this a few times, and put something together. And look, if you send it to me, I'll put eyes on it. But like, you know, it's like producing a record. I mean, you can talk about producing a record, but there's a whole nature to it. But the easiest hack I can give you is if you just took that Hypnotic Asia write-up and said, okay, let's assume that the DNA of our perfect EPK is more or less in this here, but it's hidden and sort of jumbled. That's more true than not true. If you took that and used that as your template and then cleaned it up and tightened it and made it less is more, 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 you'll be close enough that you probably won't be missing out on any major opportunities from your EPK.
Okay.
You guys were awesome, by the way. Like, you guys are so great at being a part of this. And I already knew Tano was like, it's not always easy to be in the hot seat like this. And so I hope this was fun for you guys.
It was great.
Very fun
Cool.
and really useful.
Yeah,
really
this has been
helpful.
valuable.
So
Good. So let me ask you, because it would be useful for us as well. If you were, you know, if you were going to come on again or do something similar to this in the future, this was on sort of the EPK press side. If we did another one on a different topic, getting stuff synced or getting publishing or getting management or whatever.
Ooh, that one.
Okay, so management.
Aya's been like interested in management for a long time.
That's
Like,
my dream.
Same discussion, by the way. If
yeah.
we had a discussion about management, it would be a lot of the same topics. It would just be in the different sort of, like, it would be the same characters. They would just be dressed differently. But the same points apply. What does this mean? What's the vision? How does this compare to X and Y and Z? Where is this going to be in a year? The strategy that these people were kind of like hammering you about is another way of saying, like, how does this work? What does this mean? Where is this going to be in a year? And prove to me that you've thought this through and it has legs, right? It may not be all figured out, but again, going back to that sort of pitching to venture capital, like, you tell me how to understand this deal, not tell me why, you know, why I should decide if this is worth my time. So we could definitely wrap around and do another whole thing on management, and it would cover other things. So that's, and I've heard that from pretty much anyone that's been on here. 7,000 said that as well. I think a lot of people are interested in doing that. So I was actually thinking about bringing managers on, sort of like doing the Emma thing, but with some managers.
That would
Is
be
that
Really cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds like a great idea.
So listen, I know you guys got to jump. I got to jump as well. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's
Thank
really
you.
And by the way, you know, use this. Like, the next time you're pitching your story for coverage, be like, hey, we did a live stream on you now. I mean, you know, it's not like we're a big deal, but still, it's something you did. It was about your work, and use it. Tell everyone that's on your list this happened, and tell them today or Saturday. When someone says to you, I only want new stuff, what they're really saying is, I need newsworthy stuff.
I see.
And if it happened today or yesterday or just last week, it's more newsworthy. So even though the EP is now a week old or whatever, you can still tell them, hey, this happened. Hey, this happened. Here's some stills from it. Here's my favorite quote from what came out of that. And just ping people. And anytime something happens, remember, it's a tree in the forest. If you don't tell people that tree fell, it didn't fall.
Yeah.
Okay. Love you guys. Thank you guys for coming
Thank you
through.
so much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.
Thank you,
Screenshot.
Screenshot.
Do one more. Do one more.
Here we go. Ready?
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. One love.
All right.
Stay in
Bye.
touch.
Yeah. See you.
All right, guys. Bye. All right. 12:06. That was awesome. That was fun. Thank you guys for coming through. Anybody got any follow-ups and stuff? We're going to be popping off in a second. Thank you so much. That was really fun. I was so in the zone. I didn't even like, which is usually the case. It's not like it's ever not the case, but I get so into what it is that we're doing that I don't really like, it's a training for me, man. Like Tori said to me a day or two ago, I'm like, am I getting any better at this? And she's like, yeah, you're getting a little better. Like, I want to go back now and watch when we first started doing this about 4 months ago. I must have been really bad. But anyway, forgive me. It's a learning curve for me to like keep track of all these comments and stuff. I love you guys and I love the comments. It's just that part of my brain's not really dialed in yet. So now that I can kind of focus, right on, dude. Yeah. How do we do that? How do we reach out more? Like, that's what we, I know how to do it in the traditional way, but I don't understand how to. What would you suggest we do, Unknown? Bring it. Hit me. Yeah, man. Pop on, man.
Yes.
What's going on, my dude?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes. Thank you for having me. And then once more, this idea, it is hella fantastic. It is unique in its own way. So yeah, we need more of this. I have an
Dude, I'm having a hard time hearing you because it sounds like there's something else in the background.
Hold on, let me change my room. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Thanks.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yes. No, I have calculated I'm regularly in your stream. Either
Yeah, no, we see you a lot.
in my main account or my low-key account.
For sure. For sure.
And I've calculated on an average you have 2 or 3 musicians coming in.
Okay.
And then this stream is all about getting those to learn more about how to perform better, how to do it online. And I think I have set up a network system. And I think if we can figure out something guesting on other stream and talking a bit more about what you are doing or maybe Tori, then I think we can get more people involved.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. So what do you recommend something, or should we just kind of keep it at like what
No,
would
I
you
recommend, let's say, if you are ready for it, and next month we can go on a YouNow tour, and then I can ask other partners on here with an average viewing count of 40 pips. Then you can sell a bit of what you are doing on the site, and then
Yeah,
we
dude,
can
that would be amazing.
we can then reach out to. It's all for free, so you gain more
Yeah.
than you lose. So why not?
Yeah, man. I mean, and again, I've seen you. I think you worked quite a bit with 7,000 apart when they came on. Right?
Not a bit, quite a lot. In their second week, they achieved an editor's choice, and it was a historic moment. It has never done before,
Wow.
just by networking. The
So,
network system I have set up
Yeah.
is one not to be taken for granted.
So that's amazing, dude. What was it that drew you to them?
One, I have a background in social psychology, so I do pick on things, and usually, when it comes to human interaction and human behavior in general.
Yeah.
But also, I was very found by their way of making music, and also as a duet. They have something very unique to offer, and that's also their past life experience.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I really thought the first time that especially, I had one impression when I heard their music, which was a strong positive impression. But the first time that I saw them doing this, even though they were sort of new to you now,
Yes.
they have a presence. They just have something natural about the two of them together. That's that I saw pretty early on as well. So I agree with
Yes. I
Yeah, go ahead.
I define it as there exists such a thing still as love, something called love. Because when they look at each other, the way, the sense, the vibe they give you is undescribable. So
That's awesome. Well
yes,
said, man. Well, we would be honored, dude. I mean, like, again, you're a positive force here. We're trying to be a positive force here. We try and help people move whatever they're doing forward. So it's always, it always feels good when someone reaches out and wants to help. So, I'm all about it. You know, hit us up, or we can definitely talk more. We have a Discord. If you want to contact us by email or however it works, we're happy to sort of chat a little bit more and see. I think you're good vibes, so I appreciate what you're saying, and I think what you're saying is true. Let me ask you something. So yeah, like, we're down. Let me ask you, what's your impression of what we're doing and sort of what the strengths of it are? You there? Sounds like I might have lost you, dude. I'm gonna pop you back. I'm gonna pop you out and back in again. Oh, you're not coming back in, bro. Let me try one more time, dude. Maybe with your other ID. Maybe you're having some Wi-Fi issues. I tried 3 times. You're not coming on, dude. Let me try you on the one that doesn't have the hand. I don't know if that makes a difference or not. If you're yeah, I know. The Wi-Fi, man. It's just sometimes it's ups, sometimes it's down. Anyway, of course I'm down. We're, unknown. I appreciate your words, and I know you've been hopping in here many times since we've been started doing this. So I appreciate that. I think you're someone who's thoughtful about what you're doing, and you're supportive about the people that are being creative on this. So I would love to hear from you guys that are on. Alina, it's good to see you again. Vicky Vibes, thank you so much for the likes. Appreciate all you guys for showing us the love. I would love to get your honest impressions of, like, and this isn't about like hyping shit up. I kind of genuinely want to know, like, what did you like about what we're doing today? And also, if there's anything that you were like, maybe we could do it for 4 hours instead of 2 hours. Maybe we could do it for 30 minutes instead of 2 hours. You want to pop on again? I would love to hear what you guys think of what we're doing, just because it's not for me. It's not for Tori. It's for you guys. So if we don't, yo, you back?
do you hear me?
I do.
Yes. No, I'm sorry, and I think it is not my Wi-Fi. You now is still busy updating the new program
Got
tier,
it.
so
Yeah.
that's why the site is unstable.
So what do you think of what we're doing? What's the strength? Why do you want to help get the word out about what we're doing? What do you like about it?
One, it has a more professional touch to it
Cool.
because I do see talent in general have their hunger for information,
Yeah.
but the necessary professional info, the support isn't there. So
Right.
with this, you have I see there is knowledge, a lot of knowledge on your side, Tori
Yeah.
as well, and the experience. So if they can be a part of that, why not?
Right on.
So I'm all for it. I can't thank you guys enough. The first time I've seen you around, I was like, this is a great asset to the musicianship of you now.
Right on, man. Well, that alone, and it's not because you're sort of complimenting us. It's that I know that you're saying it sincerely and that you appreciate not just like what we're doing, but why we're doing it and what the intention is. So if you want to, work together to get the word out about what we're doing, the point of this is to help, and we can't help people if they don't know about what we're doing.
That's true.
Right.
And that's
So-
why
Yeah.
we need to network a bit more.
So what would you recommend as sort of the next step to do that, or do we talk offline about that?
I have a Twitter one because my IG got hacked. So on
Oh,
on
no.
IG, the only person you can talk to is Ruba, but Ruba is more the administrative talent scout. I
Okay.
do more the field work when it comes to spending times with talents,
Okay.
watching out for their progress and so on so on.
Right on. So Tori will probably check. It seems like she's connected with you somehow. So look,
Yes,
dude,
on
I'm-
Discord, I will DM her on Discord.
Love it. So count us in. Let me ask you while I got you, and I appreciate your just who you are, man, and where you're coming from. On the flip, what would you give us as a note or something that we could consider doing differently, or something we could improve on about what we're doing somehow?
I have only one from all the past streaming guesting sessions you had with talents. I
Yep.
think guesting with someone like Emma was the most. I think this is now the way to go because you have a talent, but you have as well your perspective on things, but also you have another professional that
Right.
can, bring a bit to enhance things a bit more.
So you liked having Emma on today.
Not only Emma, there are many more, but the triangle guesting, I liked
Gotcha.
it.
Got
I
it.
liked it.
I liked it too, man. I actually, again, it's just something that came to me earlier this week because I was thinking about and preparing for them coming on, and I'm like, it literally, the way my week worked out, I was talking to someone in design who works with like graphic design, and I was like, let me show you an example of someone. Check out Emma McGann, and then I'm like, God, she would be really great to be a part of this conversation on Friday. So it just occurred to me this week for the first time to do that, but I agree with you. I liked it immediately as an idea. It worked really well. Emma's amazing, obviously, but we could do it more and have like multiple voices. I think that worked really well. I agree with
Yes.
you. So in
And
other words,
Tori
your
needs to bring up her game because in her DM, I have sent more than 20 amazing partners with
Uh-huh.
so everything she has,
Yeah.
she needs is already in her DMs. Ruba sent her a link of more than 500 plus talents on the site alone.
Amazing.
So
Cool.
everything is there. She just needs to do her homework and then listen to yes, their IG, their Twitter, everything is on there. Even what
Amazing.
they are doing. So if you need for a specific point of time, that specific talent you can reach out. Everything
sure.
has been already. So the hard work already has been done. You guys have
Yeah.
it easy.
Love it. Well, I appreciate you, dude. So thank you very much. And, I think I'm sure Tori appreciates you as well. We, for what it's worth, we love doing this. Neither she nor I have, to put it bluntly, have time to do this. In other words, we're doing this because we think it's an important piece of what we're doing in our lives and we want to learn about it. But if we had more time during the week and whatnot, we would spend even more time doing it. So it's just a matter of like, okay, with the limited amount of time that she and I both have, we try and get, it's like we take a few hours and try and make it 12 hours worth of work. But it's individuals like yourself, I think, that are, and Emma and anybody else that's sort of been a part of helping us do this and guiding us in any way that makes this work, man. So I appreciate it. It takes a village.
Yes, my grandfather My grandfather always told me it takes one to eat a mango, two to tango, but three or more to make a rango. So, you're right. You're right.
That's good. And it rhymes, dude. And it
Yes,
rhymes.
yes, yes, yes.
All right. Much love. Thank you so much for everything you're
You're
doing.
welcome.
We
You're
appreciate you,
welcome.
dude. And we'll see you soon. Wednesdays and Fridays, we're always on here, man.
Yes,
We'll talk
I'm
to you soon.
always linked. Yes, okay.
Okay.
Have
Thanks,
a blessed day.
Unknown. You too. Well, this was a full stream, man. Appreciate all you guys being on. Thank you again for everything. I gotta jump. Appreciate all you guys. Let us know if you guys have ideas of people you'd like to. Thanks so much, Unknown. Appreciate you. This was fun, and I felt really good about this one. And I agree. I think having multiple voices on, and having different perspectives. I'm gonna try and start structuring what we're doing so that I can have ways to do that. I just have to think about it creatively so it like makes sense and it's not a bunch of people talking, you know, about a lot of different random things. I want it to be kind of an organized conversation. So whatever else we can do for you guys, let us know. This is meant to be sort of helpful for you. So if you're curious about moving into the music industry, if you have what you think are stupid questions about the music industry, you know, I talk with people in the business every day because I'm a journalist, so I'm trying to keep up with stuff. So if there's things I can share with you that are not sort of competitive, private type pieces of information, I will be happy to if I can guide you guys or answer questions, whether you're trying to put your stuff out as an artist or trying to work with music or figure out where things are headed. Happy to help. Tori, thanks for all of your amazingness, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday and Friday next week. Session Wire on Wednesday and Mixing with Mike on Friday. One love. Thank you guys again. See you soon.